this question from Alana is one that we get a lot. And it's all about friendships and when your life changes and your friendships change, how to deal with it. Alana is working on herself. She writes, as I leave the old me behind, I'm scared of the rejection I will face when I start making choices for the new me. For example, instead of going to happy hour to bitch and moan about problems and having retail therapy sessions, spending money I don't have, I'll choose to go to the gym or go home to spend time on my project to fulfill my dreams. How can I cope with losing friendships that the old me has? You know what's interesting is that Alana said in her opening sentence to me, I'm scared of the rejection I will face when I start making choices for the new me. You know, I read something interesting, and I want to tell you this before I forget it, and then I'm going to talk generally about friendship, hoping that the way that I'm thinking about friendship will help you lose the guilt. Number one, this came from a book that my husband was reading about alcohol. And it really made me stop and think, and that is this. When you decide that you don't want to drink for whatever reason, what's interesting about being somebody that doesn't drink at a party is that the only person that gives a shit what's in your glass is you. Nobody else typically cares. But the thing that's interesting is that when somebody says to you, would you like a drink? And you say, no, I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking for the month of January, or no, I'm sober, or nah, I don't feel like it. What happens is the fact that you're turning down the alcohol, it can actually magnify somebody else's struggle with their own decisions around it. And so the first thing that I want to point out is, if you have friends that make you wrong for changing your life for the better, that's their issue. It's not yours. And so you got to untangle the fact that they have baggage about getting in shape, or they have baggage about going to the bar that's theirs, and it has nothing to do with the decisions that you're making. So if your friends in general give you blowback for changing for the better, what you need to say in the back of your mind is, interesting. They're obviously very conflicted about their choice to go to the bar and drink every night, but that has nothing to do with me. Here's the other thing you can do. If they start to make you wrong, you can say, well, you want to go to Planet Fitness with me instead? It doesn't sound like you want to be at the bar. So that said, let me talk to you a little bit about friends. Friends are people that you care about. And I have this test, I call it the funeral test. If somebody in your life were to die, ask yourself, would I go to their funeral? If the answer is yes, they're a friend of yours. That's the test for whether or not, in my opinion, someone is a friend, because it means you care about them. Now, here's the other thing about friendship that I want you to understand. You can care about somebody and not like hanging out with them. And that's the situation that you're in right now. That you have plenty of friends that you care about. If they were to die, you would go to their funeral. If they needed you, you would be there. If you saw them, you'd be happy to see them, but you don't like to hang out with them. The other thing that I want you to think about is that, and that's okay, that's like a normal part of friendship. And the reason why that's a normal part of friendship is because one of the things that we know about life is that you're always going to be changing. In the old pattern and the old chapter, you had certain patterns, right? In the old chapter of your life, you would go to the bar and drink. You would go to the store and spend money you didn't have. You're in a new chapter now. And so you have different patterns. When your life takes on different patterns, whether it's you're no longer going to the bar, you're going to the gym, the pattern might even be that one of your kids is playing with a different soccer team, or maybe you've moved to a different street in your town. When the patterns change, so will your circle of friends. It's a fact of life. But that doesn't mean your old friends, the ones that you used to drink with, aren't friends anymore. It just means that you don't want to hang out with them. You still care about them, but you don't like doing what they do. The patterns have changed. For a long time, I had a lot of drama around this until I realized that it's not personal. It's not personal that you don't want to hang out with them. Patterns in your life have simply changed. The final thing that I want to leave you with that may also help you is that, remember, I've given you the funeral test. If you'd go to their funeral, they're definitely a friend. It means you care about them, but you might not like hanging out with them that much, and that's cool. That's normal. The other thing that I want you to think about when it comes to friendships is you can typically put friends into 3 buckets. You got friends for a reason, you got friends for a season, and you have friends for a lifetime. And one of the interesting things that I know about my own life is that as the patterns of my life change. So do the friends that I hang out with more frequently. And I also believe that as you change and the patterns in your life change, people show up in your life for a reason. The right people will show up when you start going to the gym. The right people that you need for the pattern that you're in right now will start showing up when you're working on your project instead of shopping. And it's exactly the kind of people that you need. They're there for a reason. And the friends of yours that are friends of yours for a lifetime, I bet you don't hang out with them that much at all anyway. But I bet they're the first person that you call when you need to talk to somebody about somebody important. Those are the friends for a lifetime. And those folks that are still sitting at the bar and love to blow money that they don't have, those were friends for a season. So if you're wondering how to cope with feeling guilty about distancing yourself, and if you're wondering how to stop feeling like a bad and unloyal friend, understand this, friendship, it's really not about you. It's about the category in which people fit in, depending upon what pattern and what chapter of your life that you're in. That's it. Like, lose the drama about it. The friends at the bar are friends for a season. The people that are going to show up when you start going to the gym are friends for a reason. And the people that you need to call whenever you've got a problem, they're friends for a lifetime, and they're always going to be there. We've got a great question about dealing with relationships, friendships, where you have a close friend who's a real downer, and they've got all kinds of issues, and they are draining the you-know-what out of your energy. It happens all the time. I'm going to say a couple things about this. I have something that I call the 6-month rule. For the people in your life, your friends, your family, people are going to go through ups and downs, and I think it's super, super, super important that you be there for people, that you listen to the things that they're struggling with, that you give advice, that you help them find resources. You must do that. That's just part of being an incredible friend. However, when the issue sticks around so long that your friendship spirals into a situation where that friendship is nothing more than you listening to somebody complain, and now it's zapping your energy, now it's time for you to change how you're behaving in the friendship. So this is why I call it the 6-month rule. For 6 months, absolutely listen to somebody. Give them all the advice, be the shoulder they cry on, let them bitch and kvetch and all that stuff to you all day long. But if after 6 months your friend is still complaining and doing nothing, and is still complaining and acting helpless, is still stuck in that rut and refusing to take your advice, it's really important that you draw some boundaries. And it's important for you, it's also important for your friend. So here's what you're gonna do. You're basically just gonna say, look, I love you. I know you're going through a hard time, but I will no longer listen to you complain about it. And the reason why is because it's not helping you, and it's really starting to make me sad that you're still this stuck and you're not taking action. Let's definitely hang out. Let's spend a lot of time together, but we're not allowed to talk about this anymore. The second you start taking action to fix the situation, we can talk about it again. And you know that I'm here for you, but I'm not here for you so that you can stay stuck. I'm here for you so that you can get better, so that you can grow. Now, I had a friend about a decade ago who was in a situation where she had just been broken up with. I think she was struggling with an eating disorder because she was getting scary thin. And for 6 months straight, she would complain about her body, complain about how depressed she was, but she refused to see a therapist. She refused to seek counseling. She refused to read the books that I gave her. And I finally said to her, I'm really, really worried about you because this situation is scaring me and you're not doing anything. And so we're no longer allowed to talk about this unless you're going to go get some professional help or you're going to start taking some small steps to get healthy again. She stopped talking to me, completely stopped talking to me. Do you know, she reached out to me in Facebook, like 2 years ago, and told me that that was one of the most confronting conversations, and it actually was the wake-up call that she needed. And right after the conversation where I said, you're scaring me and we're not going to talk about this anymore unless you start to take steps, her mother had a very similar conversation and she started to get the help that she needed. So you never know what a difference it's going to make in the person's life when you're willing to be that honest. You also need to be doing that for your own sanity and your own well-being. So 6-month rule, when friends are depressed, when friends are stuck, when friends are going through a really tough time, absolutely positively be there. Let them cry, let them complain, let them suck the energy out of everything because they need you. Provide all the help and resources you can, and then after 6 months, if this is starting to drain you and if they're doing absolutely nothing to get better, that's when you draw the line.
Mel, how do I know if I've outgrown my friends? I'm 29 years old. Well, first of all, you're a baby. You're so little. Being 50 years old, You have so much time ahead of you. And so I say that because I'm excited for you if you're 29 years old. I'm excited for you because there are so many awesome things that are going to be happening in your life in the upcoming decades. I'm 29 years old and I have a group of friends who I've known since high school. That's awesome. Super awesome to have high school friends. I have a lot of fun with them when I'm with them, but it feels like they haven't changed at all since high school. I feel like I'm trying to grow and mature, but they have no desire to do the same. James, how many of you feel this way? That you've got a group of high school friends that you just love and adore, but every time you hang out with them, you feel like you've taken a decade back in terms of maturity and how you spend your time, and you're always talking about the same stuff. Let's not trash our high school friends. Our high school friends are awesome. Lifelong friends, probably. They're people that you love to see. They're people that you love to have a quick catch-up conversation with. They're people that you love to visit the old places in your neighborhood with. But as is the case in life, you're always going to be growing. And when you hit new chapters in your life, it's really important to be deliberate and mindful about the people that you spend time with and who you surround yourself with. Does that mean you got to ditch your high school friends? Absolutely not. But it might mean that you shouldn't spend as much time with them. It might mean that you should show up to those friendships a little bit differently, and maybe they'll go a little bit deeper. And it definitely means that based on where you are in your life right now, that you should get more proactive about surrounding yourself with a group of new friends or current friends that are up to the same kind of growth that you are. And there's research why this is so critical, everybody. This is why I want you to do a friend cleanse with me this week. And the exercise that I'm about to walk you through that you're going to do today is going to turn you inward so that you get clear about what your values are. Because one of the interesting things about James's question is that there's nothing wrong with his high school friends. What he's recognizing is that he's grown. He's changed. And so the things that he cared about in high school aren't the things that he cared about now. The conversations that he had in high school aren't the ones he wants to have right now. The things that he wants to create in the next 10 years of his life are very different than the things he wanted to create when he was graduating from high school. That's amazing. And one of the reasons why it's so important for you to be clear about what you want out of this next chapter in your life is because who you hang out with, it changes everything for you. It either keeps things the same or it will be an accelerant that makes it easier for you to make the changes in your life that you really want to make. And so this is research from Harvard that I want you to understand, and it's what is grounding the advice that I'm giving you today. So do you know that when researchers from Harvard looked at people who had made a major change in their lives in a positive way? Okay, so you take a group of people that made a major change in their life. Half of those people, the reason why that change happened is because something either traumatic or something that was a major life event happened. They got cancer. They lost somebody they loved. They got a divorce. They suddenly were laid off. They lost all their money. Like something happened that was a major life event that rocked them. And you know what happens when that happens to you? First, it's horrendous, but it usually leads to something very positive happening. Now, the other half of the people who had made a very positive change in their life, do you want to know what they did? What they did is they changed their friends. They started surrounding themselves with people that were up to the same thing that they wanted to be doing. I'm sure you've experienced this in your life. Have you ever gone to college? And when you get to college and suddenly you're around a bunch of studious people, it suddenly makes you more studious. Have you ever done a 5K or run a half marathon or done a big walking fundraiser or done Tough Mudder, one of those big kind of group events? What's it like to be at a race where people are cheering you on, where other people are running, where you're all doing the same thing? It's super motivating. And there's even deeper research around this because behavior is contagious. If you're around people that smoke, your objection to smoking gets lowered because you get socialized to it. If you're around people that are super positive, your natural set in terms of being pessimistic will slowly start to raise. If you're around people that every morning they send a text, I've got two friends. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Sarah. Two of my friends here that I text almost every other day about what exercise class we're going to. Just being around them makes me more motivated. And so, James and you, I want you to really understand that who you hang out with matters. It matters not only because your time is valuable and your attention is valuable and your heart and soul is valuable, but it matters because the people that you hang out with have an incredible impact on you.
And so let's get into it, because I am right here shoulder to shoulder with you in this same struggle, okay? I'm 54 years old. I thought by the time I was 54 years old, my life would be a party. There would be barbecues every weekend. We'd be going on cruises and bike trips with friends. I'd have all kinds of downtime to hang out with my buddies. What the hell has happened? It's like I feel like the older I get, the more boring I get. I feel like adult friendship, this is how I would describe adult friendship, at least for Mel Robbins. And I'm sure you can relate to this. Adult friendship is literally bumping into people randomly and being like, oh my God, it's so great to see you. We should get together. And then 6 months go by. And I know we kind of relate to that and we can laugh at it, but here's the thing I keep reminding myself, and I want to put this pin in it too for you. You ready? You're friends and you actually mean it when you say we should get together. But there's something that's standing in the way of us actually doing it. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's these 5 damn lies. Because these lies are keeping you from doing the simple things that help you create adult friendships. And these lies also make you feel horrible. And these lies also make you and keep you lonely. And so we're going to pack them all. And I want you to just get a couple simple takeaways, okay? You and me were friends. And you're not the only one that feels this way. And there are simple things that both you and I can do that we don't feel like doing that will fix this problem in our life. And it is a problem. Because friendship is so important and having fun is important, and you deserve to feel connected to cool people, and you are a cool person, and so am I. And so I'm going to make sure after we unpack these lies, you have 3 simple tools to turn this puppy around, okay? Because that's what I want for you, and it is certainly what I want for myself. So lie number one that you're telling yourself, everybody's life is a huge party. That is such bullshit, okay? We have all gotten sucked into the fake life on social media. Everybody's life is not a huge party, okay? Unless you live in a sorority or a fraternity, your life is not a huge party, okay? And even if you live in a sorority or fraternity, you may be lonely. You may not like the people that you're surrounded by. And so stop telling yourself this lie that everybody else's life looks like a huge party. And here's why you need to stop telling yourself this lie. It's so damaging because when you sit there and you compare where you're at to people's fake lives on social media, you are comparing yourself to something that's not true. And you are invalidating your own life experience. And let me just stop and let's role play here. How is sitting on your couch scrolling through social media? Oh, they're going on vacation together. Oh, look at that nice bike trip. Oh, those people got together for a bachelorette party. Oh, everybody's life is a party but mine. How does that make you feel? Does that make you feel excited to text the friends that you have? Probably not. What does it do? It puts you in a mental death spiral that makes you start to swirl the toilet of comparison. It makes you feel like a loser. It makes you feel left out. And yet you probably spend an hour a day on social media just staring into the lives of strangers and convincing yourself that everybody's life is a party except for yours. No one's life is margaritas in Ibiza. That may be what influencers do, but that's not what normal people do. And the reason why you have to stop telling yourself this lie is because you will never feel motivated to make the effort, and you will never feel worthy of the kind of friendships you deserve if you are constantly swimming in the toilet of comparison. So, what is the truth? What do you need to do to turn this around? Truth number 1, if you want your life to be a party, create it. That's truth number 1. You know, I'm guilty of this too. I'm guilty. I always know when I'm coaching myself because I go, That's number one. I always raise my voice because I'm also kind of trying to get you to listen, but I'm also like, hey, Mel, stop looking at everybody else and saying, there's the party. Why am I not invited? And look in the mirror. If you actually want that for yourself, create it. I remember there was a period in my life where my business was really taking off and I was on the road all the time. And it was also that moment in time when our kids had gone from middle school into high school. And something interesting happens when you are in that area of your life where you are raising kids. And so as you listen to me tell this story, you can think about it from the lens of being an adult and raising kids. Or if you don't have kids and you're in your 20s, you can think about friendship from the same lane. Because, when you are raising kids or when you're a young kid, you travel in packs. Everybody's at the same soccer thing. You tend to hang out with people after, soccer's on Saturdays. Your parents are friends with the kids the parents of the kids you hang out with. And then something interesting happens around middle school. Kids start to peel off into club sports. You start to have your own preferences of friends, and the friend group starts to fracture. And when high school rolls around and you have more independence, you now can drive or you can get rides with your friends. You are on your own. And that huge friend group that you used to travel with, it sort of shatters and you only see people kind of at games or at big events. And for me, it was happening at the same time. My career's taking off. I'm traveling all the time. We're now in high school, so there's not that large organizing thing that happens when you're younger as a kid and when you have young kids. And I started to realize I wasn't seeing my friends. Where did all my friends go? And I started to swim in the toilet of comparison. I would get home at the end of the week from work and I would look on social media and I would see people out at the country club that we didn't belong to posting photos. And I would see other groups of people. Maybe it was people who had sons on the same soccer team, but our daughters, were hanging out with and they're getting together. And I started to convince myself everybody's life is a big party. And this is why this lie is so damaging. You tell yourself you're not invited to the party. You start to feel like a loser that nobody likes. And I felt that way for a couple of years. And finally, one day I said to Chris, we just don't get invited anywhere. And Chris turned to me. It's so interesting. And he said, well, when's the last time we invited anybody over? Mic drop. Thank you, Chris Robbins. If you want your life to be a party, start throwing them and stop telling yourself the lie that the party is somewhere else and you haven't been invited. Create your own. So that's truth number one. Okay. Truth number two is this. If you're swimming in that toilet of comparison and you're telling yourself everybody's life is a party but mine and you feel like a loser, I want to tell you something. You don't need a lot of friends. This is a huge myth that I think that modern life has slammed in our face thanks to social media, because now we're aware of what everybody else is doing. The truth is, and this is based on research, that you don't need a huge group of friends. If you got one or two really close friends, I'm talking the kind of friendship that runs deep in terms of trust. If you have what researchers call a 4 a.m. friend, what is a 4 a.m. friend? A 4 a.m. friend is somebody in your life that if you called them at 4 o'clock in the morning, just because you wanted somebody to talk to, they would pick up. I want you to stop and think for a minute. Let's say that you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and there's nothing really wrong. It's not like you have an emergency, because I think in emergencies, there's lots of people you can call. But let's just say it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you wake up, can't go back to sleep. You're feeling kind of lonely. You just want somebody to talk to. Who would you call? For me, I know I would call Jody Bricken. She's my best friend from elementary school. She has trouble sleeping. She's probably awake anyway. Hi, Jodes. And she would pick up. I would call Amy. Amy is sitting right across from me right now. I could absolutely call Amy. I can think of a couple people. I would call Gretchen Larkin. I would call Lisa Schwartz. There are a bunch of people in my life I could call. So I'm doing okay. If there was one human being that popped into your mind that you could call at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I know there is, you are doing okay. And I also have a confession to tell you. As much as I am jealous of what looks like huge parties, and as much as I am the kind of person that thinks she wants to always be at a huge party, the truth is I'm very extroverted in my work, but I'm really introverted in my personal life. And I think it's important for you to hear it's okay if you're not the big girl gang or guy gang type of person. There's nothing wrong with you if you just prefer to run in a small circle. Now, I think my circle has gotten so small, it's basically become a dot because of COVID, but we're going to get into that when we get into some of the other lies. But I need to say that loud and clear. It is a lie that everybody's life is a huge party. That's number one. And the truth is, if you want a party, start throwing one. And the other truth is, you don't need to have a huge group of friends. You know, I often think about the fact that, some really fun memories that you'll have is with an enormous crowd of people. Like, think about being at a huge wedding, right? The band is playing, you're dancing like crazy. It's super fun. You're surrounded by family. You got some friends there. All the friends that you go out and party with, are any one of them your 4 a.m. friend? Probably not. Probably not. And we're going to get into this as we talk about the other 4 lies that you keep telling yourself. So let's keep going. Lie number 2 sounds a little like this. I don't fit in. Or maybe you say this to yourself. People don't like me. That's me. You want to know what is going on in the Mel Robbins head here? It's people don't like me. Or another way I would say this, you're mad at me. I just presume I've done something wrong. That's how screwed up my wiring is. I'm working on this, as you know. And so I'm going to continue confessing how this plays out in my life, because I know you look at me and you're like, you think people don't like you? But you are like the most confident person on the planet. Like you show up, you roll into a room and things are on fire, Mel. Like, what do you mean? What I project is very different than what the voice in my head is programmed to say. And that's why it's a lie. My voice in my head tells me a lie, and the voice in your head is telling you a lie too. Here's how this plays out for me. I am the kind of person that is always trying to read people's emotions. I wonder if people are upset with me. In fact, I don't even wonder if people are upset with me. I just presume that they are. I'm the type of person that would put emojis behind any kind of text if I feel like that might be taken in the wrong way or might hurt somebody. And here's what I'm learning from the Mel Robbins podcast as we interview these experts and as I dig into your stories and DMs with you, is that this is complete tomfoolery. It's not true. This is garbage from my childhood. This is attachment theory stuff. Clearly, I have an insecure attachment style. If I'm constantly worried, clearly I've got coping mechanisms and wiring that I developed when I was little that I don't want anymore as an adult. And so why is this lie so damaging? People don't like me. Well, let's role play this one. If you're sitting at your house or in your car or scrolling on social media and you're telling yourself the lie, I don't fit in, people don't like me. On a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to put yourself out there? How about negative 27? That's how motivated you are. You are not only not motivated, you are more likely to hide. Because if you believe, because of this lie you've been telling yourself, that people don't like you, why on earth would you put yourself out there? This is why I need to shake both of us by the shoulders. This is why we got to start reaching for the truth. This is why we've got to combat this awful programming that tells us the lie that people don't like you. It's not true. And I'm not just saying that because I like you. I'm not just saying that because I know you're a good person. I'm saying it because there is research around this. It's called the liking gap. And this research, hold on to your hats, people. This comes from psychologists at Cornell, Harvard, Yale. So we're talking smarty pants research here. This means we got to believe it, okay? It's called the liking gap. What is the liking gap? It's this lie. It's the tendency to underestimate how well liked you really are. See, you feel awkward about reaching out, and so do I. due to this liking gap. We don't reach out because we don't think people like us. We're underestimating the truth. What's the truth? People like you. Period. Nobody's mad at you. Period. Stop living your life as if somebody's mad at you. How about we flip this instead? How about you start living your life assuming that people like you? What a radical idea. What a radical idea to walk into work and say to yourself, people like me here. What a radical idea to walk into a party this weekend or to a networking event and go, people like me here. I mean, that is a revolutionary idea. And I will tell you something. I struggle with this. I struggle with this a lot. This is one that I'm really working on in my own life. And I'm telling you this because I want you to work on it. And I'm going to confess something. Boy, this is really turning into like a therapy session. I wish you were really sitting here so you could hold my hand. So when I was launching the Mel Robbins podcast, I was told that the best way to grow a podcast show is to be interviewed on other podcast shows. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? And here's the truth. I have a lot of friends that host podcasts that are really successful podcast hosts. Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, Jenna Kutcher, Amy Porterfield, Koya Webb, Glo Antonimo, the Billius, the list goes on and on and on. And when I was getting ready to launch this, I was telling myself this lie. People don't like me. If I reach out, it's a burden. You know, because if you are hesitant to ask for support, it's because you're telling yourself deep down this lie that somebody doesn't like you or that they're going to be mad at you or burdened by you. And I am telling you that I struggle with this. And so there were a couple friends of mine, Jay and Lewis and the Billius and Rich Roll, that all said, hey, and the Boss Babes, they said, hey, I'd love to have you on the show. And I didn't reach out to anybody else. Do you want to know why? Because of this lie. Because there was a part of me that was like nervous that when somebody received a text from me, even though these are my friends, I was trapped in the liking gap, which in my opinion is like another toilet we swirl in. We swirl in this toilet of comparison, and now we're also in the toilet of, do you like me? No, actually, I've decided that you don't. And here's something kind of wild, because life gave me a really important lesson. So the show launches, and we just explode in terms of popularity. And within a week, we got 500,000 downloads, and we're on the top of the charts. And I got a text from a very good friend of mine, Brendan Bouchard, somebody who has helped me in some of the worst moments of my life. He is just a gem of a human being. Please check him out. He's awesome. In fact, he just launched a killer marketing podcast. If you're in business, I would check that sucker out. He texted me. And he said that I thought twice about texting this to you, but have I done something wrong? And when I read that, my heart sank. I'm thinking, why does he think he's done something wrong? And he said, I saw that a bunch of our mutual friends were supporting your podcast launch, and you didn't ask me. And it stopped me in my tracks because there's a reason why I didn't ask him. He was launching a podcast network at the same time. And he had helped me so profoundly with the High Five Challenge and Growth Day. And I felt like I just couldn't burden the guy anymore. Why? Because I was telling myself a freaking lie. What's the lie? That people don't like me, that I'm a burden, that I can't ask for help. It's complete garbage, everybody. In fact, when you don't ask your friends to support you, they feel like your life is a party and they're left out. Isn't that unbelievable? We're all sitting there swirling in this toilet of comparison and assuming that people don't like us, and it's not true. So let's leverage the research from Cornell and Harvard and Yale, and let's be smarter about this. Let's not let our emotions and our insecurities from childhood ruin the potential of amazing adult friendships. Because when you tell yourself that lie, now you know it's destroying your desire to reach out. And here is the truth you need to live by, and I need to live by. People like you more than you think. So you better start acting like it. Now, let's move on to lie number 3. Lie number 3, BFF. Remember that from middle school? We're BFFs, BFFL, BFFs for life. Let's get the matching necklaces of the heart that is like kind of broken in half, and you'll wear one and I'll wear the other. Here's the reason why best friends forever is a lie. Best friends aren't always forever. Friends come and go in your life, even your best friends. Friendships fade. They fizzle out. And I've even experienced that over time, sometimes that best friend that faded or fizzled out because life just does that, it's a natural part of life, sometimes you find your way back into each other's lives again. Now, the reason why I believe this best friends forever is a lie is because it puts pressure on you. It puts pressure on you to label a friendship, and it puts pressure on you to hang on to things just because you've spent a lot of time with somebody. And when you hold on to friendships that no longer feel like a great connection or feel energizing or support who you're becoming, you know what happens when you are friends out of obligation? You start to feel resentment. And the other reason why it is so important to stop telling yourself, you got to be best friends, we got to be best friends forever, best friends forever, is because that pressure that you're putting on yourself to hold on to things that don't feel right anymore, that's the reason why you don't have room for new people to come into your life. And look, if you've been best friends forever and it's working for you, that is freaking awesome. I'm talking about the lie we tell ourselves that if you don't have a best friend forever, somehow you're damaged. If you don't have that lifelong childhood friend, somehow you're an idiot. That if you don't have best friends and you walk around in a squad and you've got Halloween costumes where you're all matching, you've screwed up your life. It puts pressure on you that is completely manufactured, and it's totally unnecessary. So what's the truth? The truth is, you may not always be friends with somebody forever. And that's good. That's good because you want friendships in your life that support your growth. You want friendships in your life that have a mutual exchange of energy. And you need to take the pressure off yourself. And you got to expand the way that you think about friendship. Because when you look at BFF, not as best friends forever, but best friends are flexible. It creates room for growth. It creates room for the kinds of friendships that come in and out of your life based on what you need and what you can give. Doesn't that sound nice? I think it sounds really nice. So here's kind of a new way to think about friendship. It's flexible because friendship is mutual. It's supportive. It's a connection that is based on energy. It's based on what your passion is right now. It's based on what your goals are right now. It's based on the effort that you're putting in. And it's not necessarily based on history. You've experienced this. There could be somebody that'll walk into your life next week, and it's literally like you knew them forever. They were the exact person with the exact energy and vibe that you need right now. And that doesn't mean that you're no longer friends with the people that you've been friends with for a long time. It just means that if best friends are flexible, it means that they come in and out of your life in terms of intensity. And I think a lot about this right now because I've just moved. I've moved from a community that I was in for 26 years. I'm still on my text chain with my next door neighbors. I'm getting the texts about the fact that there's a fox running around or coyotes or this, or does anybody know a person that can dog sit? And I'm also still really good friends with all my girlfriends that were in moms groups together and, people that I've come in and out of my life. But I now live 3.5 hours away. And so if you're flexible about friendship, you take the pressure off. And you know that just because you don't see people all the time doesn't mean you're no longer friends. It's going to take a little bit of effort. This idea of flexible friendships is so important. And I want to add a framework to it, okay? We're going to dig deeper into this when we get to the tools near the end of this, which you have to hear because I want you to use them. But being flexible about friendship is super important because here's the truth about friendship. Friendships fade because when your priorities change, so will your friendships. And I can give you a bazillion different examples of this. Let's say that you're the first of all your friends to get married. You'll start to notice that you start hanging out with other couples more. Why? Because the pattern of your life changed. If you're flexible with friendship, you don't put pressure on yourself. You don't start to go, oh, are we still friends? Are we not friends? You just know that it's going to require a little bit more energy because the patterns of your life has changed. If you start to see the world differently, maybe because you're now a vegetarian or you've stopped drinking or you've gotten very active with social justice or you are really committed to your health, the patterns of your life just changed. And your friendships will also change. And that's why you need to be flexible in your friendships because again, what is the purpose of your friends? It's literally for this mutual supportive exchange of energy that helps you become a better you. Another reason why is that as you start to grow, everything about you changes. And things are going to start to feel forced or draining because they were connected to the old you. So when you realize that a relationship is getting forced, right? Or that it's draining you or it's taking way too much energy, be flexible. And by the way, you've been that person for somebody else. As somebody else has been trying to grow or as their interests have changed or as the patterns in their life, they got a different job, they moved to a different state. Doesn't mean you're no longer friends. It just means it's not as close of a friend anymore because the connection's a little off. The energy, that's okay. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to move on. And instead of making yourself wrong, instead of feeling guilty, instead of gripping it or forcing it, just be flexible. Just direct your energy in a new relationship. Move toward the people that feel like the light, that feel energizing, that feel like they're aligned with where you're headed, instead of holding so tightly to the folks that were with you in places where you've been. It's all good. It's all good. And by the way, when you do that, you create space for something new. It's a beautiful thing. Lie number 4 is really simple. You do not need to be everybody's friend. You can't be everybody's friend. The truth is, not everybody is meant to be your friend. And the second that it feels like a force, be flexible, okay? Here's one of the things that I love to think about, is that you can be the whole package, but if you're delivered to the wrong address, not going to work. Another quote that I've seen that I just love is, you could be the most amazing, juicy, end of summer ripe peach. But if you don't like peaches, you're not going to be a fit for that person. Doesn't matter how good you are. Remember, flexibility. I want you to understand this because when you tell yourself, oh, I got to be liked by everybody. Everybody's got to like me. I got to be everybody's friend. That lie turns you into a people pleaser. That lie is why you are in your head going, do they like me? How do I need to change? I know I'm a peach and they don't like peaches, but maybe if I disguise myself as a plum, they'll actually like me. Stop doing that. Embrace the fact that you're a peach. Embrace your whole package and stop forcing yourself to be liked by everybody. The reason why this lie is so important to catch is because there's nothing wrong with you. The more you embrace who you are, the more you're honest about what works for you, the more you show up as your full self. Imagine that. Imagine assuming that people just like you, that juicy peach that you are as you are. Imagine if you just assume, imagine if you're flexible. Imagine who might show up. Somebody who likes peaches. Wouldn't that be a wonderful change? That's why you got to catch that, because this is about energy. This is about you and where you are in your life and where you're going, matching with beautiful human beings that are on that same leg of the journey with you. That's what this is about. So be flexible. And man, you are a juicy peach. Embrace that stuff. I love peaches, by the way. That's why I love you. Lie number 5. Get ready. You're going to hate this one because I hate this one. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I don't want to go out. I'd rather just stay home. I have social anxiety. I'm an introvert. Yes, I've said all these things to myself too. Here's the truth. Friends are critical to a happy life. Friends are the thing that make life meaningful. You deserve amazing friendships, and you deserve to be an amazing friend. You know, for a long time, I've shared a lot about this. I have felt really freaking lonely. And I'm okay being alone. I got no problem walking into a restaurant alone, rolling up to the bar, sitting at the bar and having dinner by myself. In fact, I kind of like doing that. I have no problem going to see a movie alone. I have no problem going for a run or a hike alone. There's a big difference between enjoying time by yourself and being lonely because you don't have friendship in your life and you don't feel a sense of connection or community. And for a really long time, that was me. And the lie I was telling myself is I was too busy. I became addicted to busyness as a way to cover up the fact that I was really lonely. My friends were working. Our kids are all launched. Everybody's scattered in a bazillion directions. I felt like I wasn't seeing my friends. And guess what? My friends felt the same way. Nobody's life was a big party. Everybody is just in their cars, driving here and there, sitting at home, working remote, trying to navigate this crazy thing called life, particularly these last 3 years. As our kids have gotten older, at least in my case, I find that they need me more, not less. And so I am just like in my little tunnel. And it turns out so are you. Everybody feels this way. It's not just you. And here's the lie. You're not too busy for one of the most important things in your life. You're not too tired to make the effort for something that brings meaning. You're not too shy or introverted or whatever to make the effort. And I'm really worried about where we are right now. And I'm worried about the fact that because of COVID, that we have got a new default. And the new default is staying home. The new default is, it used to just be that it was hard to get to the gym. I think for a lot of us, it's actually hard to get out of your house if you're working there all day. And it takes a lot of effort. I talked about this in our episode, Motivation is Garbage. We talked about something called activation energy. Activation energy is a fancy pants term that I think was developed by that famous psychiatrist at University of Chicago, Csikszentmihalyi, I think is how you say his name. And activation energy is the force, like we're talking physics, we're talking rocket fuel force that you need to push your rear end out of your house after being on Zoom calls all day to go see a friend. It is so easy to opt out of the book club tonight. It is so easy to not go to that new hockey league or the intramural soccer thing or the lecture at the library because we've gotten used to being alone in our homes. This is so dangerous to your happiness. Do not let the fact that you've gotten used to being home be the reason why you don't 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 push your rear end out the door and make the effort, because the effort's small. The reward is everything. It's enormous. It's profound. In study after study after study, and there's one famous study, you may have heard of it, called the Harvard Men Study, where they studied, they followed groups of men that had graduated from Harvard for over 60 years. So they followed them from their entire adult life. And at the end of the study, it was 100% conclusive that the thing that brings the greatest meaning in your life is the people that you have surrounded yourself with. Now, let's look at that sentence, that you have surrounded yourself with. Sitting at home alone is not how you surround yourself with people. And you and I both know it, and we're both guilty of this. and move into a new town, like many of you have during COVID. How many of you literally changed up your whole life? You had this reckoning. You're like, that's it. I'm going to relocate. I'm going to change things up. And now you sit at home alone. You have to make the effort. So that's what we're going to talk about next. You have the 5 lies. Let me summarize them for you. Lie number 1, everybody else's life is a huge party. Not true. Stop saying it to yourself. Either go make a party or just focus on making a few great friends and stop making yourself wrong. Get out of the toilet bowl of comparison. Lie number 2, people don't like me. That is a complete lie. You now have the research. Let's use the truth from Cornell, Harvard, and Yale. And people like you more than you think. Start acting like it. Lie number 3, BFF. Stop saying best friends forever. Stop putting pressure on yourself to be friends with everybody forever. It creates resentment. It is a total lie that you have to do it. Let's tell the truth. Friendships need to work for you. Friendships come and go, and the best kinds of friendships are flexible. So take the pressure off yourself and tune into what you need in this stage of your life and where you're going, and move toward the people that feel warm, that feel light, that feel energizing, that are supporting where you're going. Be flexible in who's coming and who's going. It is the best way to do this. Lie number 4, I need to be everybody's friend. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not everybody is meant to be your friend. You get to be selfish here. Stop putting pressure on yourself. Remember, you are a juicy peach. You got to find people that like peaches. That's what you deserve, okay? And finally, the final lie that is keeping you from having the adult friendships that you deserve is telling yourself you're too busy, you're too tired, you're too this, you're too that to make the effort. The truth is, this is one of the most important aspects of you creating a better life. There is nothing other than your mental health that deserves the effort more. And by the way, you start working on developing some great friendships, and your mental health is going to improve too. And that's not just Mel Robbins telling you the common sense. That's research, folks.
What if you genuinely don't give a rat's about having friends and don't need them?
Then don't. Like, I think that you got to be honest with yourself. And I personally think if you have anywhere from 2 to 5 close friends, that doesn't mean you have to see them all the time. See, part of the realization for me is that other than Mandy and 2 or 3 other people, the closest people in my life live nowhere near me. So I have a super close friend from high school, hi Jody Bricken, elementary school, I should say, who lives in San Francisco. One of my favorite couples in the world, they're like our best friends. They live in Victor, Idaho, in the Jackson Hole area. Our other closest friends live in Middlebury, Vermont. Other close friends live in Portland, Maine. Other close friends live outside of New York and New Jersey. We never see them because they've got kids, they're busy. And so I count them on my list of friends. But I think for those of you that are like, me, I don't really need people. The one thing I would say, though, is do you not give a rat's ass because you have the wrong people around you? Human beings are social creatures. There is a rise, an epidemic, if you will, in loneliness. And all of the research points out that when you are on your deathbed and you are looking back on your life, the thing that will have given it meaning are the people in your life and the experiences that you've had. So I would say you only need 1 or 2 really good friends to get you through. But are you not giving a rat's ass because you really don't like people or because your armor is up and you've been hurt by the people around you, and so you've basically said, meh, the people thing, I'm not doing it because of what's happened in the past? And I would say if that's the case, then there's an opportunity in the mindset reset to change your story and to maybe invest in that 1 or 2 people that really give you meaning. Not everybody needs a squad. I am not the kind of person that has ever been part of a big girl squad. I'm not a sorority person. I'm not, a country club person. I'm not somebody that needs to be part of a big pack. I would rather have dinner with one or two people or two couples than to go to a party. I'm more of a connection person than a social person. And that's okay. I understand myself. And I think there's a lot of women like that. And a lot of women have been kind of sold this bill of goods that we're supposed to travel in these big girl gangs. And it's just not the way that it works for a lot of us. And so I think it's cool if you recognize that you're either introverted or you just crave deeper connections or more meaning, or you can't stand the surface level BS that's involved in a lot of kind of surface level friendships. That's great to understand that. But don't make the mistake of saying, I don't need anybody based on what's happened in the past. I would say that's an insight about going deeper. It's an insight about your armor. It's an insight about the type of people you used to surround yourself with, and perhaps the kind of people and relationships that you really want to seek out moving forward.
If you're having trouble with your friends, your friends are starting to like distance themselves from you, what's your advice? And it's like making you sad and you're upset.
I don't know. Because it's something that you're doing.
Oh, so if your friends are distancing themselves from you,
Well,
there's
it's
something
not
you're
always.
doing.
It's not always that.
I like what you said, though, because I think if you always assume it's something you're doing, then you have some power.
Yeah, but then you get into the mindset that you're the worst and then you're always doing something wrong.
That's true. But here's the thing. Like, do you think that it's best if a friend starts to distance himself, to go up to them and say, what am I doing that's making you distance yourself, and like just hit it head on?
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Because otherwise you're going to sit there and come up with reasons and you're going to think you're the worst.
Yeah.
When there might be something you're doing that's annoying them. For all you know, your friend is having trouble with a breakup and you keep bringing it up, or they're having trouble with their body image and your eating habits are triggering them. So it's not really about you, it's about their stuff. It might be that you're being short and rude and you don't even realize it because of stuff you have going on. But I think that the main mistake that kids make and adults make is that we just start feeling sad or confused and we don't talk to any of our friends about it. We don't say, hey, what am I doing? Because otherwise you will turn it on yourself, because none of us think anybody else is the worst. We think we're the worst.
Yeah. And if they say it's not you, then ask who it is or why.
Okay.
And if they don't tell you, then drop them.
Okay. Got it. How do you make sure you don't beat yourself up over the whole thing?
I mean, like you were doing something wrong, and it's understandable that you beat yourself up because they're like going to the point of like distancing themselves from you because of your doing.
Yep.
So it's like there's probably going to be a little bit of like, damn, I'm kind of the worst, but that's like in the past. And you just kind of got to get up, go on, because you know you did it, and if you can change it, then that's good.
It's amazing. Look at the clouds.
It sucks that you didn't like notice it, but
it's true. Well, I think that these sort of experiences are really helpful because they show you the things that aren't working.
yeah.
And you got to just be like, we're all human, and you can't go down the victim route because then you're more annoying to be around.
It's true.
You got to just freaking suck it up.
Yeah.
The best apology is just change your behavior.
Yep.
And that's it. You know, it's impossible to go through life without feeling stressed out. I mean, it's just going to happen to you. And what's fascinating about stress is that most of us have two pretty predictable responses. First of all, we go into this bunker mode where we feel so stressed out, we start to isolate ourselves.
6:30, dinner with me. I'm booked.
You know, we work all the time. And the second thing that we do, we think about what can we remove from our plate. The last thing that you want to do when you're stressed out is add something, right? Maybe not. The idea that I want to introduce you today requires you to do the opposite. There's something that you actually need to add into your life in moments of stress, and it's also going to require you to fight that feeling of wanting to just bunker in and isolate yourself. And it turns out that one of the best stress relievers on the planet is something that most of us don't ever do, and that is seek out time with friends when we feel totally stressed out. When you're doing twice as much work as you normally do, or you're feeling twice as much stress as you normally feel, studies at Harvard show that what you need is you need to see your friends twice as much. Now, Sean Anker is a really famous researcher and best-selling author at Harvard, and he studied this phenomenon. He looked at people that were stressed at schools and in call centers and in the military and in banks and in almost every single industry. What he discovered is that the most successful people, the people that were the best at selling, the people that were the most resilient, the people that had the best ability to deal with stress when times got tough were the ones that saw their friends the most. It was the people with the tightest social connections that had the ability to weather the storms that life throw at us. The takeaway is really simple. It's really easy to isolate yourself. What I want you to do is I want you to actually make a more concerted effort to re-engage. We don't talk about the isolation piece a lot. I bet you have friends right now that are super stressed out that you haven't heard from in maybe even a month. And the reason why you haven't heard from them has nothing to do with you. It's they're doing what we all do. They're isolating themselves. And guess what they need? They need you. They need more connection. And that's exactly what you need when you feel stressed out too. So here's my challenge for you. I want you to write down 3 people that when you hang out with them, you feel energized, that when you have plans with them, you're excited about seeing them. When this video ends, reach out to them. That's right, pick up the phone, send them a text. I want you to invite them to do something. Go out to lunch, go for a walk in the woods, get a cup of coffee, go out to dinner. Even if you're not stressed out, I guarantee you at least one of the 3 people that you're going to reach out to needs you.
How do you let go of a friend you have more than 20 years of a relationship with, and you've outgrown them because they bring too much negativity and complaining? How many of you have a friend like this? They've been a long-term friend in your life. You've known them for a decade or more. But as you've grown, you feel that you're outgrowing them. For whatever reason. Eric's reason is that this person complains and is negative and doesn't do anything to change. And here's the kicker. For several years, I've tried to help them out of their negative rut. How do I let go of this friend that I care about but don't want to hang out with without hurting them? So here's the quote I want you to hold on to. I love this. A length of a friendship doesn't equal the strength of the friendship. I'm going to say that again. A length of a friendship does not equal the strength of a friendship. And I believe that you live your life in chapters. And there are some chapters of your life where friends that you've had for a long time are going to be pivotal. They're going to be central. They're going to be foundational. They're going to provide what you need right now. And then there are going to be chapters of your life where friendships that have been around for a long time might drift into different patterns. If this person's not toxic and they're not destructive, you don't need to cut them out of your life. What you need to do is change the patterns in terms of how much you hang out with them. It's really that simple. So if you have somebody in your life that you've been friends with for a very long time and they're super negative and you're into personal development and you're growing and you're expanding and they're holding you back, no problem. The first step is to do what Eric did. Try to help them become a more positive person. Now, you know you can't change somebody else. You can recommend things. You can tell somebody you're worried about them. I follow the 6-month rule on this. Spend 6 months trying to help somebody make positive changes in their life if they're struggling. And if you don't see the person doing anything new in 6 months, that is a signal to you that they're not planning to. And it's at that moment that you can say, I'm worried about you. I see you're not doing anything to change it. I am here if you need me, but I can't be around the negativity anymore. So either you stop complaining and being negative around me, or you change your life, or I'm going to hang out a little bit less. And if you don't want to have that direct conversation, at least have the conversation where you tell your friend, I'm worried about how negative you've gotten. Is there anything I can do? If you need anything, call me. And then just start to step away. The cool thing about a great friendship is that it will go in and out of seasons. I think of my dear, dear friend Jody, who was my best friend in elementary school. We grew apart a little bit in high school. It was a tiny high school, but I was, super focused on my boyfriends like an idiot instead of being focused on having deep relationship with girlfriends, but that's a whole nother story. And because I went off to college in 1986 when there was no social media and no cell phones, we of course lost touch. I went out east for college. She stayed in Michigan. I built a life out east. She stayed in Chicago. My childhood best friend wasn't even at my wedding because we hadn't been in touch for 10 years. I had a whole new group of friends based on my life out east and my job in New York City. It happens. The pattern of my life changed. But thankfully, we have come back together later in life, and she is now, again, one of my closest friends. And so patterns change, and that will change your relationships. So Eric, that's how you step away. Follow the 6-month rule of trying for 6 months to help your friend out. Tell your friend you're worried about him. Tell them that you don't want to hear about the negativity, but that if they need help to call you, and then just start to distance yourself. It's really that simple. Hey Mel, how do I not let the emotions of other people affect me? When I'm around people who are negative, how many of you get affected by people who are negative, rude, nasty? You let their emotions impact your psychology. How many of you struggle with that? The negativity is contagious. How do I keep positive when somebody is negative around me? Well, here's the thing. Emotions are contagious. So what you're feeling is normal. We are energetic human beings. Our brains are designed that way. That's not some woo-woo shit I'm trying to throw at you. You have something called mirror neurons that have you pick up on the emotional energy of other people. It's a protection and a bonding mechanism that makes you feel what other people are feeling unless you are a narcissistic fuck who has no empathy. So if you're around negative people, guess what? You could absorb it. If you're around positive people, this is why it's so important for you to be mindful and deliberate about building a dream team of positive people who are around you. Why positivity? Because it's a strategy. Being optimistic means you recognize the bullshit in front of you, but you're optimistic, you're positive, that your actions and your attitude can change the bullshit in front of you. That's what optimism means, okay? It's a strategy that you need to adopt in your life because it's a strategy that works. It's a strategy that makes you see solutions. It's a strategy that makes you call bullshit. It's a strategy that makes you more confident. It's a strategy that gives you control. And so you want to surround yourself with positive people. You want to surround yourself with successful people. You want to surround yourself with optimistic people because just like negativity, you can catch that positivity. So what do you do if you're surrounded right now, not by a dream team, but a dread team that is bringing you down with their negativity? Here's what you do. First of all, put up a force field. Put up a force field. You see these viruses going around the world right now that people are starting to freak out about? People wear masks to block the virus. Just because they have it. If you're conscious that somebody negative is coming on, put up a force field. How do you do that? The best force field in my mind, feel sorry for people who are negative. Whoa. Wow, your life must really suck if you're taking the shit out of me. The most recent example I can give you of when I almost caught negativity is Megan and I were boarding a plane. And they called our, section. And I did not see this person that was standing. I just didn't see her. And I just walked forward. And she turned to her friend, and I've got like laser ears, and goes, "Oh, why didn't you just run me over?" And I turned and I smiled and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to go first?" And she was like, "Negativity, negativity, negativity." And it was like a sincere, "Would you like to go first? I'm sorry, I didn't see you." And then I turned to Megan and I'm like, I feel so bad for people that get so bent out of shape out of literally just having somebody step in front of them and didn't see them. I mean, can you imagine how bad somebody's life is? Whoa. I stay positive. She stews in her negativity. I put a force field up. Because here's the thing. When you put a force field up, their negativity stays over there. It doesn't catch you, and it doesn't have to. You can make a choice that you're not going to let other people's bullshit trigger you. And look, I realize you may have childhood trauma. May have PTSD. You maybe had a boss that was an asshole. And so now you're on edge all the time. Like you're going to get called out at work or called out at home. That is somebody else's shit. Okay? And if you've got that stuff, you got to be responsible for your shit and not allowing situations to bring out that negative stuff from the past when there's no evidence that it's happening right now. And so that's how I would police negativity. And this is the singular most important thing that I can teach you. That your thoughts are everything. That you can choose what you think about. And when you demand that your mind default to the positive, when you demand to believe that your dreams could be bigger, when you demand that the temporary setback that you're facing right now, the bad news that you're afraid to hear, that this is temporary, that you can survive it, that you're still going to be able to achieve the things that you dream about, despite what's about to happen, despite the things that you fear about, despite the negativity that's around you. You got to fight to keep a positive mind. That is the most important thing that you can do.
Mel, what happens when you're becoming the person you want to be and it means you grow apart from your best friend? As they aren't at the same level anymore or don't have the same outlook on life. I have a growth mindset. She is a fixed one. She's stuck in her ways. She's not happy and she won't help herself. Okay. Number one, you can't change other people, Chrissy. That's rule number one. The only thing that you can do is change yourself for the better and hope that that means that when you change for the better, that your friends and the people that you love and care about are inspired and encouraged to change for the better too. And if you have people in your life that are stuck, they probably are also resigned. They don't believe that their behavior can change this. They don't believe that their attitude can change this. Maybe they're feeling a little beaten down. And so first things first, one of the things I would detox yourself from is the judgment, because you're probably going through that. The second thing I would tell you that you need to do when you spring it on and you cleanse your friendships, you're going to cleanse it of judgment. Your friend is where your friend is. Accept the fact that you can't change her and embrace the idea that you could to do this. You can share the links, bring it on, melrobbins.com/spring-on with her. And maybe if you it as something fun to do together versus a, hey, this will fix you, maybe that'll be the thing that inspires her to start to have hope again, because that's what most people are missing when they get stuck. You start to lose hope that you can change this. You start to lose hope that your actions can impact this in a positive way. You start to lose hope that your mindset is going to ever be positive because of everything that you've faced. I would try to make do together without making her wrong, because remember, you're going to lose the judgment. And then I would focus on yourself. And then here's the other thing. It's really important that you understand, this is so important, this is research, that your friendships and the behaviors of your friends are contagious in both positive and negative ways. And this is a really good thing for you to embrace in yourself, because if you are learning and improving and becoming more self-aware and it's making a positive change in your life, that can impact your friends, because behavior is contagious. There was a study done at Dartmouth College, which is my alma mater, that's where I went to college, and they found that when students with low grades, let's assume, Chrissy, that's your best friend, she doesn't have low grades, but she has low self-esteem, she has low motivation, she has low confidence in her ability to impact positive change. In a study at Dartmouth College, when students with low grades started rooming with higher scoring students, the lower scoring students' grades went up. Isn't that interesting? Just rooming with somebody that gets better grades impacts your grades for the better. Why? Because when you're around somebody with good study habits, when you are around somebody who cares about how they do academically, when you're around somebody that has organized their life to study more, it rubs off on you. And so the reason why I'm telling you this, Chrissy, is when you drop the judgment of your friend and you realize in where working on yourself, be a positive influence on the people around you, that's a really powerful motivator. And the thing is, take attention to your next year, super important that spring it on, spring cleaning your life. Super important that part of this is you clearing out the clutter and business with entrepreneurs. If you want to get ahead in level marketing, you should be hanging out with people that do it. If you want to get in better shape, you should be hanging out with people that go to the gym. Don't make your friends wrong that aren't going, but surround yourself with people that are at that next level. It's the fastest way to upgrade your habits, the way that you think, and you can do that without making your current friends wrong. Bring compassion to that, drop the judgment, and understand that you doing the work will inspire your friends, hopefully, to realize that there is hope and that there may be small things that they can do. And by the way, this is your work. Go to the day 2 exercises, which start on, we're in Miami, leaving a speech, heading to the airport. You're going to go to day 2, page 4. And these are questions that are going to help you figure out how to filter your friendships. So there's going to be those friends, like your best friend, that you want to make sure they're in a bucket of no judgment. And there are going to be, and that you inspire, and you help, and you love. And then there are those friends that really call your power forward, that inspire you to take it up a notch, and just find ways after you filter your friendship to spend more time with those folks. It really does work like that, and this isn't me making this up. This is based on the research and the science of human behavior. Tool number 1 is a framework. You're starting to realize Mel Robbins, she loves her frameworks, and here's why. I think advice is boring and intellectual. And so I like to have metaphors and frameworks because it helps me to truly make it stick. So here's one of my favorite frameworks for friendship. You've probably heard it. There are 3 types of friendships, and this helps you be really flexible in your friendships. It also helps you to remind yourself of the truth, okay? So here are the 3 types of friendships. You ready? And this framework is, there are friends for a reason, there are friends for a season, and there are friends for a lifetime. That's it. And if you think about people coming and going in and out of your friendship zone in a flexible way, because they're either there for a reason, or they're there for a season, or they're there for a lifetime, you now no longer are gripping. You can be flexible. You can assume people like you. You can stop holding on to the wrong people and trying to force somebody who's just there for a reason to try to be a lifetime friend. This is such a helpful framework. Let me explain it. So these people are in your life for a reason. These would be work friends. You see them all the time because you work together. They might be the parents of other kids that are on your kids' sports team, or they might be people that are on your team, right? That you're playing sports with. They're there for a reason. They might be your neighbors. They're there for a reason. These are great friends to have. They're there for a certain period of time. They're there to teach you something. They're there to support you on a leg of the journey called life. These are awesome friends, but don't grip onto them. Be flexible with them. Let them come in and out of your life. Love them up. Enjoy them while they're there with you. And then at some point, when you no longer have that reason to have those friends in your life, they sort of fade a little bit. They're still your friends. I guarantee you 10 years later, if you were good friends with your neighbor, they would certainly help you out. So would your friends at work. This is why flexible friendship is such an awesome concept. Now let's talk about a season. So these are folks that are there typically a little bit longer. They're there for a chapter, a season. So they might be the people that you met in college. And you were really, really close friends during college. And you were really, maybe you roomed together after college. But then people start peeling off. They start heading in different directions. They maybe move away to different cities or they get married. And so these are close friends for a certain season of your life. And, you know, I find that I had a lot of really good friends that I was friends with when I was a young mom. That was a really amazing season of my life. I will cherish that season of my life. I had so many close female friends because we were all doing life in the same season at the same time. And when that season ended And my kids went to middle school, and then they scattered even further in high school. And then all of a sudden the bomb drops on everything when they go off to college. And you don't, like, that season of my life was over. In fact, it had been over for a long time. And so seasons are a beautiful thing. And I'm in a new season of my life. I'm beginning a new season here in Southern Vermont. And I bet you're beginning a new season. So many of us had a reckoning with ourselves about what really mattered during COVID. And it's why so many of you made major changes like my husband and I did. And it's why those of you that haven't are probably thinking about major changes, because you haven't truly accepted the things that you were processing around COVID and the changes that you would like to make. And so friends for a season are amazing, absolutely amazing. Just love them. And when the season changes, be flexible, because a new season is beginning, which means a new seasons of friends are going to emerge. And lifetime friends, those are those 4 a.m. friends we talked about. And remember, you're doing pretty dynamite if you can think of that one person that you could just pick up the phone at 4 o'clock in the morning and call, and you know that they would pick up and just chat with you just because you wanted to talk to a friend. So, tool number 1, use that framework to enforce this flexibility. Reason, season, and lifetime. Don't force people into the wrong category. You know, this is a big one. Please stop being mad at people for not being who you want them to be right now. Sometimes some of the most generous and beautiful and loving things that you can do for people is to graciously let them go and let them grow and let them be who they need to be in this season of their lives. Now let's move on to tool number 2, which you are probably going to hate, and that is you need to take action. That's going to require you to step out of the comfort zone of your couch and the comfiness of a Friday night alone, binge watching TV, and push yourself to get out of your comfort zone and make the effort to make friends. And this effort part's really important. There was this enormous study done at the University of Kansas, and this was mind-blowing to me. And I found it to be, again, another very helpful framework, because I think, you know, you're not a dummy, and neither am I. I know that if I sit alone in my house, it's not like friends are going to come calling and I'm going to suddenly have strangers show up that are going to become my new friends in this season of my life. I know I need to get out of the house. You know you need to make the effort, but we're not. And frameworks and research help me go, oh, this actually is a big deal. Oh, if I do want to change this and I want to stop feeling so lonely and I want to stop swimming in the toilet of comparison and dislike and insecurity, I got to climb out of the toilet. That makes a lot of sense. But this research from University of Kansas kind of blew my mind, because it puts friendship into a timeline and hours perspective. Making friends, check this out. They studied how many hours it takes to make a quote friend. And this is fascinating. That as a student, it's very different than what it's like to make friends as an adult. This is why it can feel hard, because most of our lives, we were in seasons where we were forced to be in groups. Like, think about how you're in a group in elementary school and that's how you meet your friends. And then you're in a group in middle school and that's how you meet your friends. And then you're in a group in high school and that's how you meet your friends. And then you're in a group in college and that's how you meet your friends. And then all of a sudden your 20s hits and boom, everybody scatters. And you're like, where the hell did my friends go? In fact, I did a interview with Alex Cooper, who hosts Call Her Daddy. The episode is called, Where Did All My Friends Go? And we focused on this phenomenon in your 20s, where you feel like you don't have any friends anymore. And the reason why is because for the first 25 years of your life, your friendships were basically handed to you because you were in settings with large groups of people moving at the same pace through life together. And as soon as you graduate, you're on your own, baby. It's a whole big world out there. And if you think it's hard in your 20s, wait till your 30s, 40s, and 50s. And now you have the tools, so we don't need to freak you out. But this is normal. And we require effort. And this University of Kansas study explains this. So if you're in college and you're like swimming in the sea with all these people doing the same thing at the same time, it takes you about 43 hours to become an acquaintance with somebody. Now, you're sitting in class together. That's part of the time. You're eating in the cafeteria together. That's part of the time. You're hanging out in the dorm room together. That's part of the time. When you're an adult, to become a casual friend, it takes you 94 hours. Why? Because your patterns are very different when you're an adult. You don't have as much overlap. It's why you tend to become friends as an adult with people you work with because you spend more time with them. It's why you're friends with people that you live near because you spend time with them. This is not just common sense, it's researched. And in order to go from just a casual friend to a really good friend, if you're a student, it takes about 57 hours, which makes sense because you're spending more time together. So you're sharing more experiences together. For adults, we need about 164 hours. That's so sad. This is why it's so important for you to have this perspective and for you to understand it's going to require effort on your part. And that's okay. Knowing that everybody feels this way, knowing that everybody's at their homes alone under the fuzzy blanket on the couch, feeling like a peach that nobody likes, swimming in the toilet of comparison, feeling like friendship is so hard. Knowing that, I hope is helping you go, oh, well, maybe I could be the one. Maybe I could get all the peaches together and we could make a pie or some jam or some cobbler. That's what I did this weekend. I'm going to tell you a quick story because I think it's really important. So here I am. I always say, please come visit me. I live alone on a mountain in Vermont. I'm lonely. But the truth is, I've met a bunch of really cool people up here. And every one of us say the same thing. It's amazing living here. And I really want to meet some friends. I really want to get together with people. I want to stop saying, let's get together and not make plans. And so I'll tell you a quick story because all it takes is leaning toward your curiosity. That's all it takes. I walk this loop all the time. That's right by my house. It's a beautiful loop. It's about 4.5 miles. And I love flowers. I know there's 5 love languages. I have a 6th. Flowers, flowers, flowers. I'm like a psycho about flowers. They remind me of my parents. I love growing them. I love bringing them into the house. I just love flowers. And so this year, I've been walking this loop for 26 years. When I would visit my in-laws before we bought their house, and now it's our own. And all of a sudden this year, there was this insane flower farm that popped up. And by flower farm, I mean this patch of flowers, like an acre big. And in the spring, it was this row of gorgeous double peony tulips and French tulips and parrot tulips. And I would do this walk and I'd stop and I'd take photos, and you've probably seen them on my Instagram stories. And then as those came and went, then ranuncula came up, and it was this like triple petal ranunculus and peonies. And I'm like, oh, it's like flower porn for me. And then now there's these field of dahlias. Like dahlias are mind blowing, just gorgeous flowers. And there was never anybody there, ever. There was no sign, no nothing. And I became obsessed, you guys, with stopping by this flower patch. Just drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Oh my God, I just loved it. I would like Sound of Music with the flower patch, and I'm taking flowers, and now I feel like an influencer that's 20 years old, and I need a cowboy hat with a feather in it so that I can do the festival photos that everybody does. And I just flower porn all day long. And all of a sudden I see a truck parked there one day. And the truck, thankfully, had a contractor's label on it. And lo and behold, that same label was on a truck here at our house because we're under construction. So I walked over to and I'm like, hey, do you know this flower field? And he goes, yeah, I park my car there every once in a while. I'm like, do you know who the person is? He's like, yeah, that's Annette from Fleur Farm. I'm like, what? And I think she's on Instagram. I'm like, what? So I DM her. Oh my God, I've seen the flower. Blah, blah, blah. And then she DMs back. Oh my gosh, really? It's a labor of love. It's a hobby. A hobby? Yeah, I work full time. And I've been really worried about like how I'm going to get all the dahlia bulbs out. And I'm like, well, I'll help you. You'll help me? And so next thing you know, just by following the energy, following the connection, leaning into this season of my life, leaning into the curiosity, I DM her. She DMs back. I come to find out that she has been planting flowers in this new season of her life. She sells bulbs online. She is going through some stuff personally. And I'm like, well, I know some other women. I'll get these other women that I know to come and hang out with us. And I'll see if we can't like make something happen. And so we get 13 women to show up at the flower field on Saturday. I didn't know any of these women. And I knew some of them. I knew the ones that I invited. And then the friends that I invited invite other friends. And it was this army of new women here in southern Vermont that showed up to help another woman dig dahlias out of a field on a Saturday. And she and I have been texting ever since. So I met all these new people. We connected over something we're interested in. We now have a group chat called the Dynamite Dahlia Dames. And so Annette and I are texting. Wait to hear this. When we both showed up, she said to everybody, I'm so overwhelmed because I'm so alone and introverted. I never think anybody would help. I have trouble asking for help. And so as we're texting, she writes, I'm so grateful for everyone's kindness and presence and the joy there was in the field this morning. It's been a hard and a lonely path thus far, building a vision shovel by shovel, digging my way to a new life. Boy, I relate to that. I really relate to that. And then suddenly, out come all these fabulous women. Yes, I'm very, very happy because that morning was my highlight of my week too. So the challenge now is leaning in again and setting a date again and moving the ball down the field. Because as we know from that University of Kansas study, that it takes time and it takes effort. And we all need each other to be making the effort. And so the final tool that I'm going to give you is something that is so simple and so impactful. And I have so many friends that now do this that I'm stealing this from. And it's very simple. Every single day, make it a habit to text a friend. Just out of the blue. And if you want to amplify this, take a selfie video. Hey, I'm just on my walk and I was thinking of you. And hey, my dog says hello. And you not only underestimate how much people like you, you underestimate how much it means to somebody when they hear from you. This isn't just me. This is research that was covered in the New York Times recently about how receiving an unexpected text from a friend makes you immediately feel connected to that person, and it makes the friendship stronger. Make it a practice every single day as you start your day to reach out to one friend with a random message. In fact, I want to share one with you. So I love my friend Glo Antonimo, and she's an incredible author and podcaster and just puts out incredible content and motivational speaker, and I learned so much from her. And she is so great about this. I want you to listen to this random message that popped in my phone literally a month ago. There was her beautiful face just sending me a video message, and I'm going to play it for you because I want you to listen to it as if she's sending this to you.
Mel, hello. It has been almost a month since our last video message. And I was reading one of my daily devotional type books, and I thought of this, and I'm like, who can I send this to? And you came to my heart, so I'm going to read it out loud. You are human. You will make mistakes. Hopefully, you'll make a whole lot of them because that means you are trying. And trying means you are fully alive. It also makes life a hell of a lot more interesting. So here's to making more mistakes. Here's to living. And here's to appreciating the ebbs and flow of life. You know, it's hard for us to like maintain equilibrium. Like we try to go through life chasing and seeking comfort and just staying happy and staying positive. But sometimes in those moments and in those seasons and those valleys of depression or sadness, you know, we're meant to get something from that. And then when we come out of it, it's like we have so much more appreciation. So no need to respond. Just wanted to bless you with this message. Thinking of you, sending you love. High five.
That just like makes you feel good. And so here's what I want to tell you. I want to tell you, I love you. I believe in you. And I believe in your ability to stop telling yourself these lies and to really embrace the truth. The truth is you deserve amazing friendships. You need amazing friendships. And you are that amazing friend that somebody who is going through a very lonely season, digging their way to a new life, needs desperately right now. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.